couple, and welcome to another episode of Hello from Bhutan. This season, we're focusing on queer stories. I am welcoming back a very good friend of mine, Garma Dupchen. He was on Hello from Bhutan not so very long ago, but today he's back to talk about things that are important to both of us and to people in the queer community. Right, Dupchen?
Yes, very right. The first time I talked with you, it was the first lockdown, and we spoke about the first lockdown. And coincidentally, it's the second lockdown again. But we're talking about something a bit, a bit more interesting this time.
Dipchin, I brought you back because I was having conversations with people and also realizing that a lot of young people in the queer community do not have access to information on relationships, even on sex. Like, how do you navigate these territories? And I was thinking, who can I talk to about this who is very open and also quite informed about these things? I was like, let me reach out to Dupchin and let's see what he has to say. So I'm jumping right into it, like because you've been through this yourself as well. And from all of the experiences you've gained and you've had, could you share with people in the community where can someone who identifies as queer go to find information on one's sexuality and even on negotiating the relationship territory when you're queer?
Well, I think as it is for almost everyone in Bhutan, like internet. For me, internet was my salvation. I read a lot. I kind of really did a lot of deep dive into my own sexuality. And yeah, I think in Bhutan, even for straight people, for example, lack of like a very cohesive sexual education is very prominent. Um, Sexual wellness and sexual health is still kind of looked as taboo even in heterosexual world. So for a lot of young gay people or queer people, it's non-existent. But at least in the street world, there is this tradition, like so older women kind of teach younger women, I guess, like or like friends amongst themselves, or like even amongst guys, like a bit older guys amongst a friends group, or like older brothers or cousins. I've always heard stories from my friends, right? How they share about their experiences or their first experiences, and kind of like it's a way of passage for a lot of, let's say, young street boys to kind of listen to these stories and kind of gain information from it. Not to say that those information are usually accurate or healthy. I mean, that's another topic. But but I think for a lot of gay people that is missing. You know, a lot of the times. Yes, exactly. Like there isn't anyone that you can look up to or speak to openly about it. No one in the family, no one in your friend circle. A lot of the times, you're probably the only gay kid in your school, or maybe there are more, but because we're still not at that stage where like a lot of we have that many young people coming out. Especially when they're in high school, it's very difficult. So I feel like there is that gap. So um, the internet is a wonderful place. I mean, of course, there's a lot of dark places on the internet. I think by now, a lot of our youngsters are already, in a way, have learned to figure out their way around the internet, at least be able to disseminate good information and false information, right information and wrong information. You can find a lot of platforms there. And you can also find a lot of really interesting YouTube channels, where they teach you or like they discuss and they speak about, let's say, sexual health for gay men, or even for lesbian women, or for trans people. So yeah, I think the internet, especially if you're in Bhutan, I think for young people, the internet is going to be a salvation. You just need to be a little bit careful, be a bit precautious, and but just be a little bit internet savvy enough to kind of understand and kind of take in data or information and be able to assess and process it on your own. So
Mm. This also makes me realize that there is such a vacuum, right, when it comes to information that's relevant to Bhutanese queer people. Because, I mean, of course, you can go to the internet and then you can find generalized information on how you navigate or how you educate yourself, right? But then there is a need for, I think, specific Bhutanese information. I mean, like of course, you can go online and then you're going to find information, but it's easier when you're outside of Bhutan. Like maybe you have some gay hangout places or, lesbian hangout places or like trans hangout places, but okay, and you want to apply that to Bhutan and you're like, where is that? So even the physical space seems to be missing, right?
Oh yes, that definitely is true. I
Maybe
mean,
we should get like a handful of us to start working on something like
yeah,
this.
definitely. I mean, here there are. I mean, one of the first places that I went to when I came to Germany was like this. In Munich, there is this like little called Sub. It's like a little organization, sort of similar to what Hudson is in Dimple. And what they also do is like they have a little cafe. You know, they have a little cafe in their office front that they kind of serve coffee, tea, a few drinks. You know, it's almost like a bar and cafe, and the office is at the back. So it's a very nice hangout place, you know, especially for queer youth. So here, the interesting thing was like a lot of young queer kids from like villages here come to a city, and then they're a bit lost, you know. So it's like a nice navigating area for them. So maybe something like that, a nice place like that would be, I think, really helpful for a lot of queer youth in the country, because I think
We can actually talk to Tashi and our friends at Queer Voices of Bhutan, right? Like
Mhm.
to do something like this as well.
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing, to be honest.
When we're talking about like places to hang out and all of that, like Dupchen, do you want to comment on what the dating scene was like in Bhutan before you left and how you see it to be still like a general, like, because I am an outsider, even though I'm an ally. Like I don't go hang out like where people may be looking for potential dates.
Yeah.
You'll have to explain to me as an outsider. And I mean, a lot of the uninitiated, like there's so many young Bhutanese who would like to navigate this territory, but they don't know how, they don't know where to start. So, what does it look like, Dupchen?
So that's an interesting question because back when I was in the country, so that was like before 2017, and back then there are obviously Queer Voices of Bhutan that the group was there, but I think we hadn't made that much progress like now. You know, now we have a lot of queer people coming out. So back then it was, for me personally, in my experience, it was basically non-existent. Number one, there were not that many gay people, and number two, because of how strong internalized homophobia is amongst gay people. You know, first of all, like I think you and I both know, like when I came out, I really came out with a bang. You know, like I started initiating a lot of things, so I was basically out there. My face was out there, my name was out there. So a lot of the times it would be too intimidating for people, I guess. So for me, I never really dated anyone in the country. But from what I observed, as I think I've said this before as well, there's a very toxic dating culture, I would say. We don't. I did not see a lot of openly, like openly dating amongst queer people, but that kind of, I think, goes along with our culture as well, because even amongst straight people back then, if I remember, it's still quite toxic, like you don't see a lot of men and women interacting in like a very healthy manner in the beginning. It's always like somebody gets somebody's number and like, like creepily texts, things like that are considered normal. It's considered normal, like just like adding someone on social media and sending them like a DM, like you don't know them at all, but then you somehow like manage to stalk them and like get their number and then text them. It was kind of normal, even with straight people. So there's it's no different even for gay people, but obviously it's a bit magnified because of the social situation there, I would say.
I remember, Dupchen, long time ago, before you came out, we were talking about some of the challenges that are there for young queer Bhutanese, that they could sometimes be exploited by older closeted.
Oh
So
yeah.
like how do you ensure that you remain alert or wary of people like this? Would you have some advice for younger people?
Yes, definitely. And this advice is, well, I was lucky enough because I was always let's say, I don't want to call myself oh like that I was too smart or something, but I guess I always read a lot and I was always cautious, and because of that I also got to meet really good people, you know. So like for example, one of the first experiences I had with another guy when I met them, you know, we had really good conversations and like uh just directing, you know, like hey, the do's and don'ts, what you need to be careful of, especially when you're on the internet, you know. Uh, especially for young queer people, especially if you are like, you know, like 14, 15, 16, your hormones are like off the chart. It's coming leaking out of your, you know, like ear or something, you know. It's very normal. Even for boys and girls, you know, it's very normal to have your hormones go all the way and you want to kind of explore these feelings that you have. But at the same time, I think it's very, very, very easy for um, older people, in a way, like for example, sexual predators to kind of take advantage of that. I know this is a topic of another discussion as well, because I think this also happens even in the heterosexual world, especially now in Bhutan. You know, like I think more than Tinder, it's like people adding each other on Facebook Messenger. You know, doing this, doing that,
Mhm, mhm.
and you have like a lot of young, for example, the way I see it, a lot of young girls who have, you know, like who are entering puberty and are just curious and excited, you know. But then because you know our society does tend to oppress women slightly, you know, they kind of do it in hiding, for example, you know, like they're not openly gonna be out there saying, oh yes, this and that, you know. So that leaves a little bit of not opportunity, but there's a little bit of a scene where I think we need to protect our children online. So, and same goes for gay people because on top of that, when you're gay or queer, you're not able to talk about it openly. So a lot of the time, you have this constant feeling that oh, you need to be secretive about it, you know. And when you're secretive about it, it's even more dangerous, you know, because if anything happens, there's no one to like be able to monitor you or like help you if anything bad happens, you know.
That's true. But then also, while having said that, I also want to, I think, in a way, highlight that now because the parliament has pushed for decriminalizing homosexuality in Bhutan, that in any way, no matter how young you are, you can always reach out to the National Commission for Women and Children and even the Royal Bhutan Police if you feel that you've been exploited, like Dupchen was pointing out. Like, even in the heterosexual world, the online world isn't something that we can navigate without pitfalls, right? So even in the homosexual world, even in the queer world, I mean, the layers are so much more. But if you feel you're exploited or you're victimized in any way, now you can reach out. You can reach out to Laksam, you can reach out to Queer Voices of Bhutan, you can reach out to people like Dupchen and myself, and you can be protected. You know, that's something I think I find important to share with people who may be listening to our podcast right now.
Yes, that, and I think another PSA, you know, like if you are 14, 15, 16, 17, if you're under the age of 18, and if someone at the age of 25 is trying to talk to you, don't.
That's no,
Simple as
not just
that.
25.
Simple as
Even in
that.
the heterosexual world, they're like 35-year-old men
Exactly.
hitting on like 15-year-old girls. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you?
It's
And there's like, yeah,
inappropriate,
it
you
is
know?
inappropriate. And I think, I mean, I'm not even trying to be this very Victorian like puritanical old lady. I'm extremely progressive, but there's just something wrong when you're a minor and there's somebody older who pretends to have
Exactly.
feelings for you, right? There's just like all the alarm bells should go off in anybody's head then.
Exactly. I've always been very vocal about this. I don't care if she was, or if he or she was like just 17 and you are, I don't know, 25, I don't know, like 30, or like you're also just 27. I don't care. You know the law. Like the law is there for a reason. And also at the same time, we have to understand, you know, like they're kids, you know, they don't know any better. And like the chances of, you know, things going wrong is there's so many, you know, like bad things that could happen. So this is for all the young kids out there, you know, if you are talking to someone who's older than you, especially if you're a minor, don't, because they shouldn't be talking to you. They should be you know, like engaging in dialogue with you of that nature. It's okay to speak to older people on the internet, you know. I, for example, I wouldn't mind having like a talk with someone who's like a teenager about, yeah, his feelings, about his sexuality, and even about sex, you know. Because the current us constantly saying no, you shouldn't be having sex, you shouldn't be having sex, does not work, because young people are having sex, you know, at the end of the day. But we need to kind of guide them towards being responsible, you know, practicing safe sex and being careful. You can engage in dialogues like this, but there is something that's appropriate, and there is definitely something that is inappropriate, you know. So this is for all the young kids out there. Don't think that person is going to, I don't know, love you or like sweep you away and take you somewhere. No, that is illegal, that is not appropriate, and say no to that.
Yeah, I think we should all just be careful, very try and I think have a little bit of media literacy and an awareness of what the laws of the land are, and then to go with the gut feeling, because I think our gut feeling never really lets us down, you know? Like as soon as you start feeling uncomfortable when somebody makes those approaches towards you, I think that's a fairly good warning signal.
Yeah, it is a good warning signal, but then again, you know, boiling down to, for example, when you're like young, 15, 16, 17, you know, uh, I feel like a lot of those, let's say your gut feeling and your warning bells are kind of turned off or like not really calibrated well, because you're not thinking from the right head. You're just trying to explore, you know, you're just trying to see what it's like, you know, and it's completely normal because we kind of tend to shame this behavior, you know. Tamasip में ऐसे. No, it's completely normal to feel those feelings and want to explore, but there are definitely on your journey of exploration, you need to be careful of who you encounter and who you engage with.
Definitely no to meeting. I know some friends of mine from the queer community who agreed to meet their potential dates in like these isolated places, like you were saying, this whole that's like dangerous, right? And then they get taken advantage of by those people.
Yeah, memories. In a way, I feel like that's some okay, a lot of the times I wouldn't say that it's that all of them are trying are predators or something. Most of the time, they're like highly closeted people who cannot bring it up to themselves to kind of see themselves in a normal situation with another gay person in public. You know, it's kind of too intimidating for them. So yeah, I think I've also I don't know if I've ever been invited for for a walk as a date through I don't know some quiet corner area or something, and I'm like, no, sir, thank you.
Even if you want to like go for a park, like make it like the Centenary Park or Lorong Garden or something where everybody can see you, instead of like Kinsepoda, like on top of a mountain where you're not going to meet
No,
somebody else.
thank you. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I don't want to like scare people either. You know, saying, oh yeah, you know, like oh, there's like all these murderers or like rapists on the internet. I remember, but it's just a bit more healthy, you know, like just go meet at a cafe or a bar.
Right, right. I mean, like, yeah, you see people like of like the same gender sitting together in all cafes and bars.
Yeah.
So I don't think you should feel very awkward about having to meet another guy or like another woman, right?
But I think it's slowly going to change. I mean, just now we actually only just now, you know, like for example, 2020, I think was the year for queer people in Bhutan. Now you see like so many people like individually doing their own thing, you know. I see like Dupchen Selden like on Facebook Live with doing her own thing, and that's so amazing to see queer voices of Bhutan doing their own thing. There's a lot of other young queer people. I think one of them that was on Queer Talks, was it? From Queer Voices of Bhutan, the first episode, okay? And it's just so exactly, it's so amazing to see like different people, you know, like now it's not just like one channel, it's like there's multiple channels of efforts coming into,
Right,
you know?
right, right. And we're seeing more and more
So
queer
I think
stories on different social media platforms as well.
exactly, and in a way, it's becoming a bit hip. It's becoming a bit cool, and you know, with the you know how the situation in Thimphu and Bhutan goes, right? It's like a big high school. Anything that picks up, everybody just you know adapts. So I guess that is a positive impact.
Yeah, I know. It took a long time to come, but I'm glad that it's here finally.
Exactly. So hopefully, I think even with the dating culture, I feel like, especially a lot of the younger generation are gonna resort to healthier ways of uh, dating and interacting with one another. Hopefully.
With the openness that's come, I think it's a guarantee that it's definitely going to be safer
Exactly.
just by virtue of it
Definitely.
being more open. Well, Dupchin, thanks so much for your time. I know you're really busy, so I'm glad that you took a few minutes out to be able to do this podcast with me and then to talk openly about what the dating scene or like, you know, even if it may not have existed at some point, would be like in the
Well, it's okay. Our
future.
time is gone. Our zamana goyo bhन्छ नि.
Well, for the younger ones, I hope that don't feel scared to date, scared to love. Like Dupchen was saying, I think it's just natural to feel attracted to people, to look for people
Mm-hmm.
that you may feel physically attracted to, emotionally attracted. At the end
All
of the
of us.
day, remember to be careful. Like, like all of us, like it doesn't matter whether you are queer or hetero, but just be really careful if you're meeting people online, and then know when somebody is exploiting you, right?
Definitely.
Or be brave enough to accept that yes, you're being exploited, and then to do something about it, because we want you to be safe and happy at the end of the day.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. It's always refreshing and a blast to have a conversation with you, Namge.
I have with me a young trans man today, all of 18 years old. I want to welcome him to the show. Thank you for agreeing to be on my podcast.
Thank you, Raju.
Tell me about your journey. I mean, how did you find out that you were trans? Katebishichi.
When I was in fifth grade, I used to look at girls, not boys.
When you were in the fifth
Before
grade,
saying,
how old were you then?
well,
Fifth grade lodge in 12 years, did you?
yes, Raju.
So what was the experience like? What did you feel when you found yourself being attracted to girls?
I found myself driven Katerina Shinobe Chin Bungita Pusluga Chin, but mine is different Shinobe Azum feel baby.
Did you any experience Bedolu? Did you know who to talk to, where to turn to?
No version.
So how did you deal with that?
I keep it within myself. Ngar chigara ngar jam chibra ani be kaloi malap lazum be.
So you didn't even have friends who were like you, who could be trans boys, trans men. So you didn't have friends like that.
Oh yes, lazum hemadi
Mm-hmm.
mindi kaloi malap ani be.
Talenshule Kadebe, how did you start becoming comfortable with who you are? Who helped you? What helped you?
Dali country develop jo ani be with the LGBTQ gi azum nasha ten ani be jumne the mindu suge hagu be ani be onla.
The choradi nam ha koite nam find out be putana lane zumbe LGBTIQ movement chitu group chitu, or that other people identify as LGBTIQ sichu kadebe shiche.
2018 la football di suci wa ani jumne ba
Mhm.
national gi.
Mhm.
So nasha toisi juni la.
Chorazum chechi anigo. The chep the look kadebe feel be.
콩녀 무슨배임 제모 세안좀 midnight
Okay, the
좀
no be cham chi jaya loi lap chi che.
로지 말라라
Che lo malab just ane be chi chi ta be e
어
ane konga zum
yes
du sin no sto be jaya.
어
You were telling me that Toto, you haven't come out to your family more, but
어
you have like a close cousin, and then you have some friends who you've come out to Selaptalo. So, how did you decide? Ani choragi kolulapchiya kongi chuluti.
나 콩기디 쉐르방하기 베저다 부순베 인시티테 콩게람둘라 콩도양 좀 차루지 아니 베 인시 콩게람 예라인디
So, have you experienced some challenges along the way?
어 yes 라준 여기가 붐숨베데 안숨벨라 페라테 대상아이 MCN 베니멜라 공룡강아라 옹나라 조베
Pumzumbe de Islamidi chora family lab me chulo.
all the families and
The kongi lab that you're saying, chora, you just continue on your own path silaptalo. How do you find this strength within yourself to be who you are?
차르기 서포트베 차르기디 키미라가 베라 듀고 안숨베 시네마기 레옹 안라베르
Senyimagile Muslim me. Do you believe that?
안나쉬야지
Besides football, you also told me that you really like music. Bon.
yes lazim
Okay. So what kind of music do you enjoy?
indie like punk rock type anzum enjoy them
You play the guitar as well.
yes lazim
You want to play a song for us today, right? So tell us, what is it? What do you want to perform for us?
I wanna play Moving On by Cordelia.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Okay. I met you on the corner of the street. I smiled before I even heard you speak. I can't see we're growing older, but I guess that's just the way it has to be. I wondered how you still remembered me. I heard you settled down, that you're married happily. Oh, do you remember when I told you that I loved you to the bottom of the sea? Yeah, I know it's over, but I guess that's just the way it has to be. Sometime in the future, maybe we can get together. Maybe share a drink and talk a while. Reminisce about the days when we were still together. Maybe somewhere further down the line. And I will meet you there. Sometime in the future, we can share our stories when we won't care about all of our mistakes, your friends, and our stories until that day comes along. I'll keep on moving on. Thank you. That's it.
You're very talented. I mean, despite like the internet disruptions, you have such a good voice and you play the guitar so well. When did you start playing the
Yeah.
guitar?
When I was in fourth grade,
Fourth grade, Charagi, self-taught mode. Did somebody teach you?
self-learning. My family, cousins to sumama, they are into music spala.
Mm-hmm.
So kung alu inspire baby nga tenga kung lu tenna se malap te ani baby ngara interest you be te ang de ngara hapero ni.
Oh, very nice. Have you performed publicly? I hear that you're a very shy person, Mo.
Yes,
A very introverted Lomena. I can make that out. Like the only time I felt like, wow, he has some confidence is when you start singing Missy and playing the guitar. You are born to be who you are today, and it's not because there's something wrong with you or because you accumulated so much bad karma in your previous life that this life you have to be like this. Everything. I don't believe it, and I hope you don't believe that also.
yes, I don't really believe.
But thanks so much for agreeing to share a little bit of you with all of us. I mean, it's not a little bit; it's like a lot of you because I know that you've never really spoken publicly about identifying as a trans man and about who you are. But I hope that I can help you meet more people like yourself and become and really celebrate who you are.
That's lazy. Thank you.